For anybody that has been in a relationship with a narcissist, this could be a very important conversation for you. We need to talk about the guilt trip. The guilt trip is something that is seldom talked about. We talk about it, but just not at the depth that makes a difference. The problem with the guilt trip is that our triggers create involuntary emotional responses that just patternize a situation to a point of rendering your decision making apparatus nearly useless for you. And I'll explain how. You could be preparing to have a real conversation with somebody that involves accountability, maybe even thinking you're going to break up with them. But you want to make sure you understand the situation before rendering judgments. So you're being rational, okay? And then you bring something to their attention, and what do? They use Darvo on you, right? And when they level you with some kind of high energy accusation, arbitrary thing, your brain automatically conjures this sinking feeling and tremendous guilt and fear comes out of nowhere. Now, the problem with these triggered reactions is they come from animal fight or flight reactions, and the job of a fight or flight reaction is to powerfully condense the decision-making apparatus to address a threat, a singular threat. Now, why is this important to know? Because what it does is it contains your mind. It loses your consciousness. You see, when an animal is sitting in nature, it's just open. When my dog is sitting there, he's open. He's just being present. He can wag his tail if I make a noise. If I show him something, he can get excited. So he responds effectively to what's going on. But if my dog sees another dog outside, he gets triggered. He starts barking. And he becomes focused and fixated and attached to the threat. You see, the issue with triggers is that triggers do the exact same thing because it's the same mechanism. It's a pattern recognition mechanism that articulates a threat. And when you get treated a certain way, the threat becomes your own experience of being not enough, broken, something's wrong with you, guilty, threat, and you attach to the other person. It's automatic. It's the basis of the trauma bond because your mind patternizes a threat. And you see, in a fight or flight reaction, the threat only goes away when you fix it. In other words, the animal has to either destroy or damage the other animal or run away. See, my dog Turbo stops barking when the other dog goes out of view. But have you ever had a dog barking, and how hard are they to get off that attachment? You see, the fight or flight reaction attaches to the threat because it's an intellectual property of the mind. It has to patternize behaviors based on the nature of the threat. And animals will have different reactions towards different threats so that they know how to do something. But you see, the problem is, animals and humans have a lot of different potential reactions. And if you think about the infinite range of motion in terms of what we can do consciously to deal with something, or an animal, my dog could do many things other than bark. There's an unlimited range of behaviors that any animal can take towards any threat. And that's the issue. You see, rather than having randomized arbitrary responses, nature required an animal to have a very, very powerful emotional reaction, enough of an emotional reaction to want to destroy or have the energy to run away from a threat, that it creates an emergency. And it creates a panic. It creates a life or death experience. So when we get triggered, we are having a life or death stress reaction. And then what happens is when you get triggered and you feel guilt, automatically, the guilt trip is a powerful manipulation because what they do is they then direct your mind towards something you did, something you haven't finished, something you said. And because your conscious mind is locked within the boundaries of that guilt, it prevents you from even having the conversation about what you were even initially there to discuss. Because a fight or flight reaction eliminates all the other options, that it just gives you fight or flight. Like it literally makes it so animals can't think and screw it up, that they need a past-based pattern to rapidly determine what to do. You see, a lion getting triggered by a threat isn't going to attack the lion next to it. It's fixated on the threat. As we move through life, these automatic stress reactions attach us to all our stressors. You have so many different ones, and we literally live through them in 2023. And so the guilt trip is something that will literally render your mind incapable of actually dealing with what's going on. It'll create so much confusion because you knew what you were there for, and now the guilt is forcing you to address something because the emotion is so powerful that it actually starts causing your mind to manufacture thoughts consistent with guilt. Because you feel guilt, you think there must be something you did wrong. We automatically assume the presence of guilt in our mind insinuates that we are guilty because we feel it. And so when you have the feelings of guilt, you behave as you are guilty. You are being the embodiment of guilty, and now you are able to be manipulated. And so they can put your focus on yourself. And where is it not? Them. And now they have you trying to overcome your guilt. And if you haven't noticed, they don't feel guilt, do they? No. And so this is why you will think that there's something wrong with you, that you did something to cause this. And people that use guilt against you can literally control your mind and life this way, because they will then implant things in your head to have you focus on. You catch your guy cheating, he will guilt trip you for not meeting his needs. And you will see it, you see, because once he gets the guilt, you feel like it is your fault. You have the feelings already. And so when he tells you you didn't meet his needs, it makes sense, you see, because that answer answers the triggered bell. You see, when you get triggered, your mind goes, figure it out. You want an answer, you need to figure it out. So you want to figure it out so that you can make the guilt go away. And so when they tell you you're not meeting my needs, there's your answer. You figured it out. Oh my gosh. And this answers all your questions. It makes the guilt go away. It explains why you cheated. And now you can go and fix it. And so the manipulation actually causes a transformation in your occurrence of reality. It will absolutely adulterate your view that you could have been devastated before emotionally, but the trigger emotions completely dominate any normal emotion like grief, sadness, anger, because trigger emotions are survival emotions, that whatever an animal's feeling in the moment doesn't matter. When they get triggered, that is survival time. That is like you're in class enjoying, talking about dinosaurs, but when that fire alarm goes off, it's time to go. And so guilt trips are very powerful manipulation tools that transform the nature of reality outside of yourself and have nothing to do with reality at all.